Okay, so I'm going to start trying to do video blogs, or vlogs as they're called, for this most recent transition in my weight loss journey. Some of you may have followed my previous weight loss from years ago on onmyway.ca, and if so, you know I've tried literally everything. I've tried Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, paleo, any other high protein, low carb, high fat, low carb, everything. Things will typically work for me, but then I'll kind of, for whatever reason, fall off the bandwagon for a while, be on a shame spiral for a couple of months, and then get back on track. In March 2011, I had lost over 100 pounds, and I won a local Biggest Loser competition, and was at the lowest weight in my life. And I felt really good, and everything was great, but I hadn't really dealt with any emotional eating issues that I'd had, or deep-seated things that were behind the food addiction and sugar addiction that I do have. And it was mostly for winning the prize that I succeeded, and I literally was only at that lowest weight for one day, and then I went for a big meal at Original Joe's and then gained it all back really quick. I got pregnant with my second child a couple months after that, gained it all back, and had postpartum depression after she was born, and have struggled ever since then to get it off. And I've had some moderate success. I find that I'll lose 5 pounds, feel like I can have a little bit of a break or a breather, some leeway, gain it back, see that the scale, I'm great when I see that the scale is going down, but as soon as I weigh myself one day and see that it's gone up by a pound or two, then I kind of freak out and just give up altogether and gain it all back, and then some. And then, like I said, I'm on that shame spiral for a couple of months until I get myself back together, and then do it again. And also, I've had degenerative disc disease in my lower lumbar spine, which I found out a lot of people, as they're getting older, end up having, especially if they're overweight. So that's been a bit of a struggle in terms of pain-wise, a little bit debilitating here and there. And so I haven't been as active as I could have been, most oftentimes using that pain as an excuse or a hindrance. And so this past time of wanting to get back into things, I'd signed up for a local 5K that my family tries to do every year in Halifax, the Halifax Blue Nose. And so I knew that was coming, and I knew that I needed to get back on track to prepare myself for that. And so I knew that I wanted to start out with yoga. And so I've been doing, I really love her videos, Yoga by Adriene. I found her on YouTube, and once I made the decision to start with yoga first, I did her videos every day until I felt like I'd worked out some of the tightness and some of the issues. And then I began with just some short walks, and gradually brought back in some jogging and or yogging, and increased with speed and distance and endurance And I used to have the mentality that if ever there was any kind of incline, I immediately would go back to walking because I was convinced that I couldn't do hills. And so I decided this time to get over that and would pick a mailbox up the hill and tell myself that I had to get to that point. And so that was helpful to prepare for the course, which did include some hills in Halifax. And the whole purpose of starting these videos is because for as of 3 weeks tomorrow, I've been doing intermittent fasting, and it seems like it's just the next thing in the long list of things that I've tried. But 3 weeks tomorrow, I will have lost 12 pounds. And so that's been really big for me, both physically and emotionally. I know, whenever you start something new, it always comes off really quick, really fast, water weight, things like that. But the premise of intermittent fasting is that you still would get your full daily calorie allowance, but within a shorter span. And what's good about it is you can pick the time window of fasting, so your fasting period, and then your feeding window. And you can choose whether you want to do 12 and 12, 16 and 8. I try to do about 19 and 5 or 20 and 4, just depending on, and that works really well for me because I find that I'm quite busy throughout the day with various activities, and it's a lot easier to not have to prepare all these little meals, like we're told to have the 5 to 6 small meals throughout the day. And so physiologically, the reason behind it would be once you've reached the 12-hour point in a fasted state, your body will burn the glycogen from your stored fat cells, as opposed to the glucose from the food that you're constantly eating. So if you're constantly having these small meals throughout the day, you're going to be just burning that glucose. But if you let yourself get into a fasted state, then you're burning the stored fat cells that you already have. And a lot of people are like, oh, aren't you hungry? Aren't you hungry? Well, yes, in the beginning, as you are getting used to changing things around, you are hungry, but that's because of the hormone ghrelin, Ghrelin, and that is the hormone that tells you that you're hungry. And every time you eat, it gets secreted, so you get the sensation that you're hungry. So that's why we're constantly feeling like we need to have those 5 to 6 small meals throughout the day. And so once your body gets used to the idea that you're going to be having a big, all of your calories in one period, then you will start to get used to being ready for that being your eating time. And so you would just drink water, lemon water, lime water. Some people will do like 0-calorie drinks or water enhancers, coffee, black coffee, if that's your thing. Anything that wouldn't have sugar in it that would stimulate that digestion process. And so in the beginning, on the first couple of days when I started doing it, I just pounded water. I had a 4-gallon or a 1-gallon 4-liter jug. I'm in Canada, so it's 4-liter 1-gallon jug of water that I would just have with me everywhere and just keep drinking it when I would start to feel hungry, because I had been getting to the point where hunger would almost make me feel nauseous and like I needed to gag because I was feeling so hungry. And previously what would happen is I would be trying to stick within a very modest calorie budget You know, we're told like 1200, 1300, 1400. Of course, it's more the heavier you are. And I would break that up into smaller meals over the day, and then be so good all day, but then still feel by the evening really hungry, really deprived, and like I'd been really restrictive. And so I normally didn't have the willpower, and of course would want to eat emotionally, going along with like anxiety and depression, all of that coming together to have me already eaten all of the calories that I was supposed to eat throughout the day, and then completely blow the calorie budget in the evening because of emotional eating. So this way I still get my calorie budget, which I went to ifitfitsyourmacros.com, and I used their calorie, the macros calculator, and came up with I'm working with about 1,700 calories a day, and then you just would pay attention to the carbs and the fats and proteins in that breakdown. And because you're getting all of that within, for myself, a 4 to 5 hour window, you feel very satisfied. I usually start with something small to kind of break the fast, to get my body ready to be eating again. The light from my computer screen has gone off again. And then I'll prepare a big meal, like either a big, huge loaded salad or a Buddha bowl, you know, including vegetarian protein, fats, and carbs all together. I'm not restricting anything. I'm not doing intermittent fasting in a ketogenic way. I'm doing it just with the recommended macro split from ifitfitsyourmacros.com. And usually what I prepare is very big, and so I can only get through about half of it for the first little while. I'll wait a little bit, go about my evening, get the kids to bed, finish up what I've prepared, and then at that point I will tally what I've eaten already and figure out what I have left to work with in terms of the macros. So what I have left for carbs, fats, and proteins for the rest of the evening. And then I'll come up with something that I want to have. Whether it's one go-to thing that I really like to mix is plain Greek yogurt with actually a hot chocolate mix, if you can believe it. It tastes really good. Or cocoa powder, whatever your preference is, like with melted peanut butter and coconut flakes or coconut chips, and it's really good all mixed together. And so then that kind of takes me home in terms of the calorie allotment for that day. And when I told my husband in the first couple of days that I was tallying up where I was at that near the end of the night period, he said, well, why don't you just take that calorie deficit and just go to bed and just, you know, leave those extra few hundred calories and take the deficit. And that might sound like a smart thing to do, but then you start teaching your body to work or depend on that deficit. And also I wouldn't be able to, I don't think, make it through all the way until 5 or 5:30 the next day, which my goal had been to have a fasting period from 10:30 in the evening until 5:30 the next day. But like I said, you can cater it to whatever works best for you. And if you do need to shift that time a irgendwie bit, then it's nothing to worry about. And that's what I've really liked about this, is it makes sense to me on from a physiological standpoint, as well as from an emotional and mental standpoint. I'm not feeling that guilt that comes from eating restricted foods as you know, previously I'd been trained to think. And because I'm not feeling that guilt or that restriction, there's a lot more control and moderation involved. You know, before I used to not be able to keep tempting foods in the house like chocolate chips or anything like that, because then they would just be gone. But you know, now I've found, thus far anyway, that it's been not an issue. And you know, if I want to have something, then I'll have it and I won't worry about it, and I'll just keep going. And I'm just trying to plug my phone in here so I don't run out of batteries. Then there's just the freedom to know that it's going to be okay, and you can get a handle on, you know, whatever eating issues that you have. You know, that deprivation, binge, guilt, shame spiral cycle. You can get through that. And you know, this is not something that you would use as a, well, I'm just gonna have pizza and cupcakes every day because it fits in my macros. You still want to try to closely follow the 80-20 breakdown of trying to have most of your foods from a healthy source, and then use what you've got left in your day. Some people you'll see on Instagram under the hashtag, the IIFYM hashtag, they'll show their treat bowls. So there is some flexibility there, but I'm gonna keep up with my journey. So far it's been 12 pounds on intermittent fasting, 42 pounds altogether, and I've got a long way to go to get down to where I want to be, but it's going to be a good ride, and hopefully you guys enjoy following the journey with me. Okay, see you later.